Hello and welcome to this live stream for the Aylesbury Vale Dynamos versus Biggleswade United match in the Gladwish Spring Cup. Be a difficult one for Biggleswade up against Aylesbury, who have won their first two games in the cup. Joining me today, of course, is Michael. Hello, Michael. How are you?
Yes, I am good, thank you. Looking at the team sheet, I'm surprised me and you didn't get a call up.
Yeah, it is a strange one today. Only one substitute. There's 6 changes overall that Christian has made. So in goal today, we've got Tyler Haddo, who played the second half of the game last week against Baldock Town. Back 4 as Morris Al Hassan returns to the side. He replaces Jordan Gerald, sorry. You've got back 4 of Morris Al Hassan, Jordan Wright, Ethan Flanagan, who comes in to the side as well. Ross Taylor, midfield 3 of Gareth Hunt, Charlie Black, and Charlie Hayford. Of course, Jane Irish getting the sending off last week, so Charlie Black comes in his place. And the front 3 today is Chariz Agwamang, George Harlow, and of course Dave Bullet Parkinson up top. The only substitute today is Milo Keane, so we're light on numbers today, Michael.
Yes, indeed we are, and it's an interesting one. It'll be interesting to see what the reason is for Christian having such a depleted squad.
Yeah, it must be. It must, especially with non-league football, it can sometimes be circumstances can mean that some players sometimes can miss matches. It's not as, the commitment is obviously there, but in non-league sometimes you've got other commitments to go to, other workplaces to go to. So I'm sure there are reasons, but yeah, let's just hope we don't pick up any injuries today.
I'm suffering from an injury myself, picked up a couple of weeks ago, so I'm in a bit of pain at the moment. So
yeah, but it should be a very interesting game, as I mentioned. The last game Biggleswade played Aylesbury Vale Dynamos. It was an absolute cracker. Biggleswade won the game. It was actually in December, one of the last games before the last lockdown that happened. 7-2 victory away, and I believe Bullet scored in the first 30 seconds of that one as well. So a repeat of that would be really, really good today. But it'll be very, very tricky. Before the lockdown phase, the table had Aylesbury in 11th place. They only played 10 matches, and they won 6 and drawn 3 and lost 3. Now Biggleswade were first, having played 14, won 9, drawn 1, and lost 4. So Aylesbury have actually lost less games than Biggleswade in the league before that was cut completely. So they're a team that are very hard to break down and hard to beat. But do you think Christian might look at this game and think how they've approached? It's a very different game to the game of December, don't you think? Especially with no crowd as well.
Yeah, and considering that was in the league and this is a cup match, we always say cup matches are different than league games. Even though it's group stages, it's still a cup match.
Absolutely.
So it's a different kettle of fish, and I think Christian will take hope from the fact that they beat them 7-2 last time. So if they can try and apply the same formation, same tactics again, they can get success.
Absolutely. And I think if that success is to come, the one player that we have to look out for in the Aylesbury team is Dan Lambert. He scored 5 goals in his first 2 cup matches. So I believe he scored a hat-trick in his last game, and he scored 2 goals in his first game. And he's also been on the score sheet against Biggleswade in that 7-2 victory, so that Biggleswade had. So he's definitely a player who we would have to keep quiet today for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And if I can keep him quiet, Biggleswade have a great chance, and it'll be interesting to see how the defensive shape lines up, and because the red card really affected them last week. When the red card was given, it seemed like a rabbit in headlights most of the time.
Absolutely, yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. And of course, the player to look out for Biggleswade is Dave Bullet Parkinson. Scored 2 goals in his last 2 games. He is, of course, the United talisman, and Christian will be hoping he can come up trumps again today.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Bullet is your main man. If you can get him involved, then you've always got a chance to win the game.
And it's an interesting selection of Charisma and Agramang. We haven't actually seen him feature for Biggleswade. I didn't see him feature, I think, from November time, but I do remember the first game that we covered of the start of this season was an FA Cup qualifier, and Agramang did score a 95th minute equaliser, I believe, that took it to extra time and then penalties, and Biggleswade got through to the FA Cup qualifier second round, all thanks to that 95th minute equaliser. So it's good to see that he's back in the team today.
Yeah,
I think moments like that can really spark a player, no matter how long ago it was. If you can channel that, there's always a chance you can get the goals and get the results.
As we look to see, Biggleswade look like they are ready to both sides. I think the referee's just doing the coin toss.
yes, thank you.
You've got a height discrepancy with the officials. Weather.
It's beautiful weather out there today. Big shout out to Josh, of course, who's the cameraman for the stream today.
Josh, who's done an amazing job last week as well.
Apologies if there is any delay with the footage, as the signal's not great at Aylesbury, but hopefully me and Michael will try and
even in the absence, we will keep you updated on any big EFL scores today, because there are a few scenarios where teams can get promoted today, especially one that I found out earlier, that Hull City, if there's any Hull City fans, you could be promoted if you win against Lincoln today.
That would be a good result. I think I'm not sure if Cambridge can get promoted, but I think a win today against Stevenage could get them very, very close to being confirmed promoted, from what I've heard as well, in League Two.
Yeah.
So
that League Two table is as close as it is. That league you need to focus. That could be focused on.
it's always a very open league. Just like Biggleswade. Sorry.
Yeah, looks like Biggleswade.
Kicking off.
Just seen Nathan Mullins, who's recovering from an ACL injury. Looks like he's travelled with the team today as he continues his recovery from his ACL injury. So that's good to see.
Yeah,
I think sometimes if players like that have all around the team, can give a boost. Like, they know he's there and give him support when needed.
So players are swapping sides as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful day out there for football.
Oh, definitely.
Flags. Or it's just a shame fans aren't there, because it'd be a perfect day for fans. Beer in hand, watching football.
Absolutely. Couldn't think of anything better.
They're made for football, aren't they? Kickoff as well.
So they are about to kick off. It's like Parkinson on the ball to his feet to get ready to kick off. As we kick off,
Yeah.
ball's being played out on the far side. I think Biggleswade tried to go for the quick start there, just as they did back in December.
Yeah.
So it looks like a nice pink keeper kit from the Aylesbury keeper there. Or am I losing colour?
The ball's come out of play for a throw-in on the other side of the pitch. Ball's back out to Flanagan. Out to Taylor. Aylesbury ball's intercepted in the midfield by Aylesbury. They look straight forward. Biggleswade keeping their defensive shape well, Michael.
Yeah, the first
Couple of minutes, just don't want to concede an early goal. That can always be a problem. If you can keep a tight first 10 minutes, especially away from home, you can ease into the game, I think.
Like you said, especially away from home, it's so difficult. That first couple of minutes, sometimes you just got to weather the storm.
definitely.
You see Christian on the touchline.
Very animated.
Parkinson leading from the front, pressing well. Couldn't quite get onto that Parkinson. It's gone back out to Aylesbury defence. Of course, this is where the real football's played out, on the grassroots football, proper football.
Of the last few days, the collapse of the Super League, which I'm sure we've all heard, it's been in the news.
Absolutely, it could still, who knows, completely change football as we know it.
Chairman Guillaume Balagate did give his comments in the last few days, and even he said it's an absolute nightmare for football because it's one of those things where grassroots could be left behind.
Absolutely, yeah, it'd be a terrible situation for a team like Biggleswade United, and of course Aylesbury as well. It's the offside trap there. It was a good offside line by Biggleswade.
Yeah, I just say
Not just Biggleswade, Aylesbury as well, and everywhere else in the grassroots game, because this is where potential future stars are made at this level.
You just look at Jamie Vardy as well, came from a club like Fleetwood Town, now one of the top scorers in the Premier League, so it can happen, of course.
If you're good enough, it's there for you.
Christian giving his instructions on the touchline there. It's well defended. It's caught comfortably there by Haddo.
It's interesting to see Taylor in goal, actually, considering he played the second half last week, and as we know, last week Christian used both as goalkeepers, so it's interesting to see Taylor get the start fully today.
Yeah, it's well. I mean, by the looks of the substitute bench, I don't think Christian had many options than to for today's match.
Unless he can come out off the touchline and get his boots on.
Get Aylesbury on the potential attack here. Ball's crossed in. It's gone out of play in the end for a goal kick. Of course, we'd like to thank some of our sponsors, Media and Glacier, for sponsoring our coach Christian Colles, J&R Coaching from Luton for sponsoring our goalkeeper today, Tyler Haddo, Blackback 4 for sponsoring Dave Bullet Parkinson, and George Harlow, who is on the right wing today. It's been sponsored by CMR Productions and Soda Light TV. If you would like to sponsor any of our players, it is £75 a season. More information is on the club website. Really does help players as well as the club. So make sure you check out the Biggleswade United website for more information.
Yeah,
and it's a great opportunity to actually sponsor a player, to get your name featured on these type of streams, hopefully help your business out as well as the club. So I guess it's a win-win.
It's absolutely a win-win, yes. Got around 10 minutes gone so far. I think both sides are still trying to get themselves into the game.
yeah, it's been a very
cagey start from both sides. I think both sides trying to find their feet early on.
Both sides' first two Gladwish Cup matches, both sides have not been able to keep a clean sheet. So with Biggleswade winning their first game 2-1 away from home to Newport Pagnell Town and losing their first game, winning their first game away and losing their second game at home 2-1 to Baldock Town, and Aylesbury Vale Dynamos, who I believe are the only team with 6 points in the cup so far in our group, won their first game 4-1 at Baldock Town and 3-2 at Dunstable Town. So this is their first competitive match back from a lockdown at home. What sort of effect do you think, or do you think that's something that could play into our hands, Mike?
yeah, definitely, because
If it's their first effective game back from lockdown, the fitness levels, especially in the latter stages of the game, could really come into it. And even though Christian's only got one sub on the bench, sometimes it just takes one player to create a difference. And the fitness level could easily come into it.
Of course, you've got the centre-half partnership of Ethan Flanagan and Jordan Wright, the two that were ever present. Of course, we've seen Flanagan go a bit further forward sometimes in midfield, but pretty much from September of last year, the two centre-halves, if available, have been Ethan Flanagan and Jordan Wright. They are the two centre-halves that Christian trusts the most based on the amount they start in the lineups this season. So to have two reliable men at centre-half, especially in a tough away match, is so crucial as well.
and
Also, like, it's the same in the Premier League. As a manager, it's the same in all leagues. As a manager, you want that central defensive partnership, which you can trust, which gives stability, not just to your goalkeeper, but to your midfield, because your midfield has more freedom, knowing that your defence is solid and can work together well. So having those two reliable centre backs is probably one of the biggest things you can have.
Absolutely. That's MacArthur in the Aylesbury goal, taking the goal kick. It's gone out of play for a Biggleswade throw. It is Ross Taylor takes the throw in by Parkinson. Good play that by George Harlow. Just had to get the play. Sometimes you just need to get the ball out of danger.
Get the ball out of danger, then it can just ease pressure a bit.
There's a bit of skill there by the Aylesbury player.
once again, to prepare these
In advance, if you do hear any industrial language on the stream today, as you can hear, it is behind closed doors, and the stream is quite close to the pitch. So if you do hear any bad language, we do apologise.
And whilst we're giving the apologies now, I should probably mention as well, if we do get any of the goal scorers wrong today, we can only apologise. we're just seeing it off the screen. And of course, we have Josh there who will confirm it to us if we make any mistakes as well. So
The days of lockdown.
Broadcasting.
ball playing out from the back there by Haddo. Apologies if there's any stream delay.
Now, I don't know.
Spanish, but I'm guessing this comment from Vandy, vamos equipo. I'm guessing that's come on or something. I'm not an expert on Spanish.
Hopefully get back in.
Confirm to me.
Just trying to get this. It looks like Biggleswade, they're United, they're struggling a little bit in the midfield, which is something that we did struggle a little bit last week against Bulldog.
Yeah.
It's so important as well, especially in a tough away match. If you can get that midfield controlled, you've got a major advantage on the opposition.
Missing a major player as well, like Jaden Irish, of course, who was sent off last week.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't want to disrupt the midfield too much sometimes.
Yeah. When you haven't got a player like Jaden in that midfield to control things, get stuck in, and be vocal, sometimes you need someone else to step up.
The midfield three today of Gareth Hunt, Charlie Black, and Charlie Hayford, they're three players that are normally you would see them more as attacking midfielders rather than defensive midfielders. So it will be difficult for the three in midfield to try and get their defensive duties right. I believe today it is Gareth who is in the defensive midfield role. So it's a completely new role for him and something that he'll be hoping to just adjust on the job.
Yeah, indeed.
And if he can step up to that role in that defensive midfield, just in front of the defence, then that could really help if he can control the tempo.
And that's the magic of non-league, where sometimes you just have to put players in certain positions that they're not necessarily used to. Like this season, we've had Cody Spavins, he isn't playing today, but I've seen Cody play at right back, at left wing. Sometimes you just got to slot a player in to do a job for one specific match. If there's no one else available, you've got to find someone to play that.
Exactly, yeah.
And also, if you have a player who doesn't mind giving up his normal position to play in an unfamiliar position, it can be a very big advantage to you to have that player who you can rely on.
Absolutely. That was well defended in the end there by Flanagan, didn't it? Took a while to get the ball back, but
he got him behind there, it looked like.
It did look like that. One player that will be a big miss today as well is Cody V. Spavins. In that 7-2 victory, did actually score 4 goals in that game. So he will be a big miss today.
Cody as well won the penalty last week.
That's correct, yes.
He was a menace on that far side from the camera angle we're looking at now last week. Won the penalty and was a real threat for the whole game.
But you could also argue that this is an opportunity for the likes of Charisman, Agriman, George Harlow, who don't normally, and Morris Hassan, who don't play every week necessarily. This is their chance to get more into Christian's plans in the team when everyone is back and ready as well.
It's a perfect opportunity. for them.
That ball's a bit too far for the Aylesbury attacker, and it is a throw-in to United. Of course, we'd like to thank everyone that is tuning in to the stream. We will be having live coverage of the very important County Cup quarter-final between Bedford Ladies and Biggleswade United Ladies. That's a 2 p.m. kickoff that will be live on YouTube, so make sure you look out for that tomorrow.
Yeah,
And the girls following a great penalty win in the last round.
That's right, and the round before that, I believe, they were 2-1 down at half-time, and they came back to win 7-2, so...
Well, on the women's football game, I've got personal things working in the women's game outside of Biggleswade, and it's come on massively. The women's game is progressing unbelievably well.
Yeah, just see even the coverage at the top now. I heard that the Sky have got they've now got the rights to the WSL as well, which is massive news for the women's game as well.
Yeah,
it's like a multi-million pound deal, one of the biggest in history. So that can only be good for the women's game.
Absolutely.
As well, providing us some good camera shots as well. We've got Ellie and Ryan there, I believe, isn't it?
That's Josh.
That's Josh.
Yeah. Ellie and Josh. My bad.
The Spanish community supporting Biggleswade United and Christian. That is great to hear. Thank you. Great, that's a comment there from the chairman. Gideon. Great plug for tomorrow's game. Enjoying the commentary. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, hope you're
pressing there by the front three.
Hope you're well, yeah.
Enjoying the game.
That's good interception there by Gaz Hunt. Trying to work the ball up the field. Of course, we mentioned last week about Parkinson being a bit isolated up front, and it's something that we'll have to be a bit wary of, I think, because, of course, he's so used to sometimes having the likes of a Charlie Clayton, who's not been able to play the last couple of games, but they sometimes always bounce with each other. And when you go from a two-man partnership to a one-man partnership, it is hard to adjust sometimes as centre forward.
Yeah, it definitely.
Because once you're used to it, you're looking for that partner, and once you realise you don't have it, you're thinking, right, what do I need to do to get in those positions, or who can provide me with that ball?
But I'm sure
It's one of the players who can adapt quite easily and can still fire the goals in when needed. The shaky start to the game from both sides, not many opportunities. Both teams still looking like they're trying to feel the way into it.
It's a very different game to last week against Bulldog. It doesn't have that cup feel to it at the moment. Anyway, obviously, I hope I'm wrong in the next 45 minutes to an hour, obviously, but I think it's just a case of both sides just trying to fit each other out a little bit and just to see how both sides are playing. And as you can see there, Christian having a couple words with George Harlow.
Just a quick, shocking score from Germany, actually, at half-time. Bayern Munich losing 2-0 against Mainz.
Is that home or away?
Bayern Munich are away.
Oh, wow. That would be a shock on the cards. Harlow there was unlucky there. the ball did come off him, and it is a goal kick.
Yeah,
Fields are proved right. It is a pink kit.
Ah,
that's what I was wondering.
Earlier.
we need to comment here from Andreas. We need to win today. Let's go, my team. A big hug from America. A big hug from all of us here too, Andreas. Thank you for tuning in.
Especially for
America as well, because I'm not sure what part of America you're from and the time difference, but I'm guessing it's morning, maybe just turning into the afternoon in America.
Yeah, probably. I think it depends on what part of America normally,
yeah.
but this could be a good ball over the top here for Parkinson. He's not happy with something here, Parkinson.
It looks like he was playing.
Either for a corner or it looked like
I think that might have been Agman actually.
It looks like he was playing.
Almost like a handball. I think I seen his arm go up in the air.
I don't think he was calling for a corner because he was definitely last touch definitely came off him.
So,
Ball he was calling for then. Must have thought struck the hand, but the referee wasn't moved.
Looks like the referee did give it looks like the referee gave a free kick in the end. I think that's what Agman was protesting about with the goalkeeper just taking the free kick.
Then
we
can't safely say he was agreed to something, even though we don't know what it was.
Ball is played on the other side of the pitch, just like a corner. Ball's crossed in, gone past the box. They're just trying to get it out at the moment, Biggleswade. And it ended up with a free kick in the end.
Referee there, obviously spotting an infringement in the Biggleswade area.
Christian there on the sidelines, animated as always.
Aita Basu, hopefully I said your name right. Go BUFC supporting all the way from India.
Wow.
Wow.
Again. That's fine. And again, quick.
obviously send
Our love to people in India at the moment whilst he's on the news, the horrible toll COVID's taken.
Absolutely terrible, yeah.
So, Jaita, hope you and the rest of India are staying safe at this very difficult time. And we appreciate your support as well, especially right now in lockdown.
Absolutely. I second Mike's comment there.
It's one of those games where a goal could really open it up.
Absolutely. Of course, a goal came in the first 30 seconds of the last time these two faced each other, so it was quite easy for the game to be opened up so quickly. But I think Aylesbury, they were probably aware of the threat of Parkinson this time and probably thought, let's make sure that we just don't let Biggleswade attack too early because they didn't want to get caught out again. So, to be honest, that doesn't surprise me, the fact that especially the home side, that they're playing a bit cagey as well as Biggleswade, because they know about our threat going forward. Of course, we know about their threat, of course, with, like I mentioned, with Lambert, who scored 5 goals in his last 2 games. So both sides know the threats of each other going forward, and I think it's who blinks first.
It right now looks a case of both defences cancelling each other out, or both defences cancelling each other's attackers out.
Cut the line off. We need to be sure if he's going that we're here.
The ball's out here to Emmanuel. It's good defending though by Ross Taylor. Ball has come off Aylesbury. Oh, they've given a throw to Aylesbury. Oh. No, apologies. Throw to Biggleswade. I did think it was a throw into Biggleswade. I was very confused when.
When
Looked like he pointed to the way Aylesbury was shooting.
Yeah. It's good defending there by the captain, Jordan Wright. Gives it back to the goalkeeper, Tyler Haddo. So we've lost out there on the far side. The referee has blown his whistle. Is that a free kick, Mike?
Let's have a. It looks like it could be.
Yeah, it looks like a free kick.
Yeah. Once again, apologies to everyone. It's
right now, just
commentating on what the pictures you can see at the moment.
so
Yeah, sometimes can be a bit difficult. So apologies for any confusion. We'll try and make it as clear as possible for everyone watching them. As the ball's crossed in, just looks like he went for goal there.
See from where it was, but it looked like he thought he could bend it in the top corner.
I mean, from where we're watching, it looked more like a crossing position for a free kick rather than a shooting position. So like I mentioned, this will also be the first time that Aylesbury have played at home in front of no crowd whatsoever. So we shouldn't be too surprised about how they have started, considering they haven't played without a crowd in their own home ground. Of course. Biggleswade, of course, this is their second away game in the Gladwish Cup. The first away match we played was against Newport Pagnell Town. That was a 2-1 victory. And of course, after last week's home defeat, Christian will be hoping to keep our cup hopes in good condition with a victory today.
definitely.
You could say every game's a must-win, but I think after last week's result, this could be a real must-win game. If you can get the result here.
Keep an eye.
So in the Gladwish group that Biggleswade are in, they are actually currently sitting third, having played 2 games, won 1 and lost 1. And if they do win today, they could go above Aylesbury Vale Dynamos with a victory, as they have won their first 2 games. At least go level on points. I think they'll have quite a higher goal difference, depending obviously on the result today. Of course, if it is a 7-2, then they could well go above Aylesbury Vale Dynamos. But at the moment,
it doesn't even look like it's going to be it's going to be 2-0 rather than 7-2.
It's still early days, Mike. Keep the faith. Keep the faith.
Yeah.
Taylor Haddo. Be looking to take this goal kick. Throws it out to Ross Taylor. Taylor gets it back to his keeper. Under a bit of pressure here. He does well. I'll play it through the midfield now, Biggleswade.
looks like Aylesbury kind of
Now for the high press.
Hayford was unfortunate there with the chest down. Good bit of pass and move there from Biggleswade. It was a bit better from what we have seen so far. Even though it did go out of play in the end, it was good. Sometimes that passage of play, pass and moves, keep the ball on the floor sometimes as well helps.
Especially against the high press that it looks like Aylesbury are going with. If you can get that pass and move through them, it opens the space in the middle.
One thing United have really struggled with so far in this game is getting the ball to Parkinson. They've really struggled so far to get the ball to him.
yeah, looks like it didn't really.
The ice places up top.
Good defending there from Biggleswade. Of course, it also can be difficult with the 6 changes as well that Christian made. When you've made 6 changes, that's more than half of your starting 11 from last week completely changed. And a new group of players there. Sometimes it's hard to gel.
Definitely.
And that's what it's like. It's a,
Especially when you make, as you said, 6 changes, and sometimes
It's
players
like-
haven't played together before.
it looks like Aylesbury have just scored.
Oh. Yes, they have.
It looked like a right-footed finish past the goalkeeper. Couldn't quite tell who it was who scored for them, but in terms of the pressure going forward, you could argue that the home side probably are better for it than Biggleswade right now.
It has been a tight game, but as you can see, it's Aylesbury 1, Biggleswade 0.
We will try to get confirmation.
The goal scorer for you quite shortly.
But maybe now that it
Open up the game.
Hopefully, it could be almost a bit of a wake-up call for Biggleswade.
definitely.
And like you said, with the game opening up a little bit more, Aylesbury might want to go forward a bit more to try and get a second goal. Apologies if for the screen will hopefully the connection issues I've heard are not the best up in Aylesbury, so we'll try our best to cover the coverage whilst we wait for the pictures. There we go.
That might give the wake-up call Biggleswade need to get back into this game.
Ball's going forward, crossed in. So it's gone out of play for a goal kick.
Or if you can, please, Ryan, did you see much of it? 'Cause it was hard to...
What was that, sorry?
The goal from Ailes, because it was hard to see.
It was very hard to see. I did see. I still don't know who scored for the host, but I did see somebody. I think I saw the ball go in the bottom right corner past Taylor Haddo. He was unlucky not to get there, and unfortunately, that's all I can say because that's all I could see as well. Apologies.
Yeah,
Or
while we have got
connection
this
issues.
little break in the stream, I'll just take you through a couple of big scores in the EFL. As it stands, Hull are being promoted. They are currently beating Lincoln by a goal to 0
Is that being promoted to the championship, isn't it, Hull?
for the championship.
That is
One big score. In the championship itself, Norwich and Watford are both winning the top two. And if scores stay the same, Watford are, I believe, going to be promoted
Oh wow!
back to the Premiership.
Just got a quick confirmation that it was Kevin Owusu who did score the first goal for Aylesbury Vale Dynamos. That is his second goal in the Spring Cup, and I believe he was also a goal scorer in the 7-2 victory for Biggleswade. But he was a goal scorer for Aylesbury, so he's a player who has scored against Biggleswade before as well.
No problem.
Saying, yeah, as it stands, Watford are being promoted to the Premier League.
That'll be big news coming straight back up as well as Norwich, I believe.
Yeah.
Both come straight back up, which then leaves one more place in the playoffs. Via the playoffs.
It looks like we've got some of the stream back. Apologies for that, but thanks again, Mike, for giving the rundown on the results. How are Bayern Munich doing?
Down.
Oh, wow.
Considering the Bundesliga and how dominant they've been in the Bundesliga the last how many seasons, that's quite a shock result.
Well, I think I read something today where if they won, they would become champions for the 9th year in a row. So if they were to win today, they would become champions again. So as it stands, depending of course on other results, they'll have to wait a little longer for that.
I can confirm that. I will just do some little research now while focusing on the game and get back to you to confirm that.
No worries. As we got the stream back up and running.
Go, Carisma, go! Well done! Hey, Carisma, well done!
Yep, you are correct.
By doing today, they will become Bundesliga champions.
Thank you, Twitter, for that information this morning. That's how I got that information. Just scrolling through
it's how I got the news that the Hull could be promoted if they won today against Lincoln from Twitter. So how Christian does his half-time team talk, because it hasn't been the best. Biggleswade.
I mean, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's difficult. It'll be very difficult for Christian. Of course, he hasn't got as of course Milo is the only option off the bench. Of course, he can play going forward as well as defensively as well. Milo does wear many hats sometimes, but with not many options, it's almost Christian's got to try and motivate the players to see if he can get a reaction out of them really for the second half. And like I said, it's very difficult today. Of course, Aylesbury, they were in a good run of form. They only played 10 matches before lockdown, as it was. Biggleswade played 14, and they only lost 3 times, albeit one of them was to Biggleswade. But they are a very hard team to beat, and I do remember when that 7-2 victory came. When the 7-2 victory came, it was a very surprising result in the league. Not many people expected it. Of course, it's a very high goal scoring result. That is, of course.
Definitely.
So it was a pleasant surprise as a Biggleswade supporter seeing that result for sure.
But as I said,
The 6 changes look to have had a bit of an impact, and as I said before, when you've got 6 changes, the players might not have played together before, so it's hard to get it can take time to get a feel of how they play and positioning.
Especially away from home as well. When you're at home, sometimes it's a little bit easier with your surroundings. And
definitely.
good header out there by Flanagan.
Bono ain't got through. Look, it's going to go the other way. One job, Milo.
player there taking the throw in out to Gareth Hunt. Playing ball on the left-hand side to Agumang. He's playing the ball down the left. It looks to have gone out to play for a goal kick. But Mike, I'm curious to know your what was your thoughts when the Super League proposal was when it was announced? What was your first thoughts of it?
For the club to be involved in that, I was really shocked. I was really disappointed. Really disappointed. I was like, why would you? Because it's away from the fans. How much fans make the game.
Oh, it's a lovely finish there. And Biggleswade now 2-0 down.
This ball through and into the top corner.
Biggleswade have it all to do. And once again, just before a couple of minutes before half time as well, one of the worst times to concede in football, either before or after half time.
Christian's team talk even more now.
We'll have to get the boys together. Of course, they never. One thing you can always say about Biggleswade is I would never ever count out Biggleswade in any match. They always do fight it out till the very end. So
it is a big task for them, but it is possible.
We will get confirmation of the goal scorer as and when. I'm not quite sure. Did you get the number on the back of the shirt who scored there?
No. Couldn't really see. I just seen the ball flash past.
It was Dan Lambert. That's his 6th goal in 3 games for Aylesbury as they look to really open up Biggleswade here. Good defending there by Flanagan. Biggleswade now, they just need to weather this storm because a 3-goal lead could be a 3-goal deficit, could be an absolute disaster. And Biggleswade, they played it out well here. Harlow couldn't quite get that to Agramang. It could well be an option here for Biggleswade going forward with the amount of attacking play that Aylesbury is to try and catch them out on the counter-attack.
Yeah, definitely. I think
it could play into Aylesbury's hands because they know now Biggleswade have got to come out and attack.
Absolutely.
This would have. The thing now for Biggleswade is just to keep it tight till half time, go in 2-0 and regroup.
With a 2-goal lead, I would always say it's never as that comfortable. Of course, we get one back, all of a sudden it's game on. So you definitely want to make sure. Of course, if you can get a goal before half time, great. But you definitely don't want to concede a third before half time.
definitely.
2-0 is a very dangerous scoreline.
Okay.
You were saying before the goal about the European Super League, Amal is poor fan, and I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, it shocked a lot of people, including myself, when the news came. This week, as a football fan in general, has been a very, very long week.
Yeah.
So
I'm so happy that they've seen sense in the end and pulled out of it.
Is there some injury here?
so there is a player down. It is for Aylesbury. Of course, the one player that Biggleswade needed to look out for today, Dan Lambert, with his 6th goal in 3 games. He's on fire at the moment for the hosts, as we see Christian here having talked with his 2 centre-halves, Jordan Wright and Flanagan, during the break and play.
Yeah, probably just
get some instructions to them before half time.
You see there, Nathan.
We aren't sure what's happened to the Aylesbury player. We just
see them down on the floor. So while we are
this break in play gives us another chance to have a quick look again at the scores as we approach half time around the country. Or both Norwich and Watford will be confirmed. Well, Norwich already promoted and Watford will be joining them as it stands with the results. In League One, Hull are still on course for promotion back to the Championship, beating Lincoln 1-0. And in League Two, which is the division which is hotly contested, Bolton have just took the lead against Morecambe, which is vital in the automatic promotion race.
One team I know, well, who I've been trying to look out for recently. How Barnsley doing?
Barnsley.
I know they're in red hot form at the moment.
Barnsley right now are winning
1-0 against Rotherham.
Yeah, I know they're doing well.
Which takes them into 5th place, and it will guarantee them a playoff spot.
Wow, that would be huge if a club the size of Barnsley, if they could get into the Premier League, would be absolutely huge.
Four clubs in the playoffs in the Championship will be Brentford, Bournemouth, Barnsley, and Swansea.
Of course, Bournemouth were in. Of course, Bournemouth would like to make it free. Well, former relegated Premier League sides out of free to be promoted straight back up. That's what they'll be hoping for, of course. It's good defending there by Biggleswade. Sorry, Mike.
Interesting one where the 3 teams that went down from the Premier League last season are the 3 teams that go straight back up because Bournemouth, Watford, and Norwich were relegated last season.
That is correct. So that's the half-time whistle at Aylesbury. They have it all to do away from home. 2 goals, first scored by Kevin Owosu in the 33rd minute, and Dan Lambeth with his 6th goal in his first 3 Spring Cup matches. At the moment, it looks like the hosts are going to be 3 out of 3 in the Spring Cup. But of course, like we have mentioned, the 2-goal lead is not safe in football. One goal for Biggleswade early in the second half can definitely change things. What do you think, Mike?
No, definitely.
I have to agree there, as you said, a goal in the second half. After the half-time team talk, as we said, fitness might come into it. Aylesbury might start to tire because it's the first game coming out of lockdown, and all Biggleswade needs to do is keep at it, keep believing, and 1 goal can turn into 2 very quickly.
Absolutely. And also a quick reminder, tomorrow we have a very big, massive game actually for the Biggleswade ladies team. They are in the County Cup quarter-finals against Bedford ladies. Away from home, Bedford ladies against Biggleswade United ladies in the quarter-final of the County Cup. It's a big game against a very, very tough opposition for Biggleswade United ladies, but we will be there to cover it. So make sure you stay subscribed.
Yeah. Stay subscribed, and you will have the full coverage. And on the Biggleswade ladies, it's nice to see them back playing, and obviously the last round come through in a penalty shootout, which I've got to say, all the penalties that the girls took was unbelievable, like textbook penalties.
Absolutely. All right, I believe that the person that actually played in goal for the penalty shootout doesn't normally play as a goal. Normally plays outfield. They had to bring one of the outfield players into the goal during the game, and she ended up saving 2 or 3 great saves in the shootout. Doesn't normally play goalkeeper. It's just fantastic. It's a great story, especially in a cup game as well. It's what dreams are made of, that kind of story.
It's one of those cup stories.
This is one of those
cup stories, which is unbelievable. We would like also to thank once again our sponsors. Would you like to go through them?
Of course, of course. So we would like to thank our sponsors, Top 11, of course, for sponsoring Biggleswade United. They are the shirt sponsor for the club. Keach Hospice, of course, who sponsor, originally known as Second Meadow, our home ground. We are not at home today, but we would still like to give a big thank you to Keach Hospice, of course, for sponsoring the ground. La Media and Gracia for sponsoring our coach, Christian Colles. Taylor Haddo is in goal today for Biggleswade United. He's sponsored by J&R Coaching from Luton. Dave Bullet Parkinson leads the line today, sponsored by Flatback 4. So big thank you to Flatback 4 for sponsoring him. Of course, you've got George Harlow as well, part of the front three today. He's sponsored by CMR Productions and Soda Light TV. I'd also like to give a big thank you as well. Of course, he's not in the match day squad today, but also a big thank you to the Perkins family who sponsor Ollie Leslie, of course, who is normally in contention and competing with Taylor Haddo for the number one spot. Of course, today Taylor is in goal, but we'd still like to thank all the sponsors. And of course, if you would like to sponsor any of the players, it is a sponsorship fee of £75. Hashtag join the club. Of course, to sponsor our players, contact William Glasswell at willglass21@gmail.com. It's a great opportunity, not just for the players to get a sponsorship, but also if you've got a local business, it allows us to promote your local business. It also helps the players and the coaches and everybody else involved. It's a win-win all round, Mike.
It is
Definitely a win-win all round, and the more we can help each other, the better. And I think this is a good time where I'm going to do a little update on each game around the country in the top four leagues. Obviously, in the Premier League, the early game today, it finished Liverpool 1, Newcastle 1. Mo Salah
What?
Liverpool, it finished 1-1.
I didn't even know that. Wow.
yes.
Joe Willock scored in the 95th minute, an equaliser.
Cannot stop scoring, Joe Willock, for Newcastle at the moment.
Moving on to the Championship in the early game, but Brentford beat Bournemouth by a 1-0. And it's half-time. You've got Barnsley beating Rotherham by a 1-0. Blackburn leading 2-1 against Huddersfield. Cardiff and Wickham currently drawing 1-1. 0-0 between Coventry and Preston. 1-0 Derby against Birmingham. 1-1 Middlesbrough Sheffield Wednesday. Stoke leading away at Nottingham Forest 1-0. And as we said before, both Norwich and Watford are winning 1-0, which means they will both confirm their promotion to the Premier League.
You have to also feel that point for Newcastle probably does make them more or less safe as well now, I would say.
That point does really dent Liverpool's top four hopes. They could have moved into the top four ahead of the game between Chelsea and West Ham today, and they've missed that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Now
Moving into League One. In the early game in League One, Portsmouth beat Bristol Rovers 1-0. Portsmouth there. And then the rest of the games, you've got Blackpool Shrewsbury, which is 0-0. Peterborough leading 1-0 away to Charlton. 0-0 between Crewe and Rochdale. 0-0 between Doncaster and Fleetwood. Gillingham are currently beating Northampton by a 0-0. Ipswich are drawing 0-0 against Wimbledon. As I've mentioned before, Hull are on the verge of being promoted back to the Championship. They are currently leading 1-0 against Lincoln. You've got MK Dons, who are 3-0 up against Swindon. Oxford 1-0 against Plymouth. Sunderland 2-0 up against Accrington. And Wigan drawing against Burton 1-1.
And what's that?
League One table is it promotes Hull and it puts Peterborough on the verge of promotion as well. It puts them 2 points away from promotion.
So
That's very interesting. League One coming into the final game of the season.
Is it final game of the season next week?
Weeks 8th of May, I believe, is the final day of the EFL season.
I always keep track with the Premier League final day, but I always get mixed up with them because there's more teams in the lower leagues, of course. And
yeah.
In League Two, which is the league that is probably the most tight of all of them, Cambridge against Stevenage 0-0. Harrogate are currently beating Carlisle by a 0-0. Cheltenham and Colchester and Crawley and Forest Green, both games are 0-0, as well as Exeter versus Newport. Bolton currently lead 1-0 against 10-man Morecambe. Oldham and Grimsby currently 1-1. Port Vale are beating Bradford City by 2-1. 1-0 Salford against Mansfield. 2-0 Walsall away to Scunthorpe. 1-1 Southend against Leyton Orient, and 0-0 between Tranmere and Barrow.
Which makes the table
Even closer than it already is. Because as it stands top, you've got Cambridge on 78 points. Second, Cheltenham 76. Third, Bolton 76. Fourth, Morecambe 72. Fifth, Tranmere on 70. So the top five covered by 8 points going into the final 3 games of the season.
Very, very close at the top of League Two. It's got a couple of minutes now till the start of the second half. What do you think Christian will be saying to the players?
He'll probably ask them just to keep going. He'll probably say to them, look, we're still in this. 1 goal can change the complexion of the game. He'll just be telling players to keep believing and just keep plugging away at it and try and create more chances.
Yeah, the chances for us have been few and far between, and I think he'll be hoping that the forwards can get the ball a lot more, which can create more chances. Because one thing we didn't see in that first half was many chances for Biggleswade, and one thing that I'm pretty certain of is that Christian will be wanting his play, or definitely be wanting his players to improve in the final third going forward, as well as in the midfield as well. So hopefully, if we get a good early start to the second half, get the early goal, this game certainly is not over by any stretch.
Oh, that's definitely not
By any stretch, and as you said, if we can get the goal to start the second half, it can really change the game. And I think Christian will try and emphasise that to the players, especially trying to get balls into Parkinson. He's the main man if you can get service into him. And I'm going to quote another song here, this time from JLS, who a few years ago sang a song called One Shot, and as you say, you've only got 1 shot, so you need to make it count.
It's a good reference there, because it sometimes can be difficult, especially for players like Morrison and Charisman, who we haven't seen play for so long, coming back into the fold. It's hard to adjust to coming back after such a long time of being away from the first team, specifically, and then coming back into that fold. And as you said, sometimes you've got 1 shot, you need to make it count. And I think Christian will be looking at players who haven't been playing too much and will be hoping that they can take their opportunities a bit more in the second half.
Yeah, definitely.
As you said, when you come back from a long injury, you haven't played for a while, so it takes time for the legs to get used to competitive action.
And it is
Real struggle for players.
With the substitution situation, with only the 1 substitute as well, it will be very difficult, especially for those players who haven't played very often, to try and withstand a 90-minute game of football after not playing for so long.
definitely.
Hopefully Biggleswade in the second half can channel that never say die attitude. Because I think that as long as we have that, then there's always a chance.
There's always a chance. Indeed.
And by the way, in Germany,
It is still 2-0 to Mainz.
Is that half time?
no, but
So that is entering this latter stages quite soon.
yep.
To go. So if Bayern want to win the title today, they're going to need to turn things around quite quickly.
Another reminder, of course, that we are covering the ladies' match tomorrow around the 2 o'clock kickoff. So we should be starting probably around 1:30, 1:45 time on the YouTube channel. We are covering the match. Big County Cup quarter final between Bedford ladies and Biggleswade United ladies will be a very, very tough match, of course. But one thing we have seen in this cup run with the ladies team is that they certainly never give up. And
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's what runs through all the teams. The never say die attitude, getting in there and just fighting.
And that doesn't just come from the ladies team, that comes from the senior side, the under-23s. They all have this desire to just never give up, the attitude of always playing, regardless of whether you're 1-0 down, 2-0 down, 3-1 down, just never giving up and just fighting for the team, which is something that we're just seeing if we can get our screens back up and running for the second half.
Yeah. So what do you?
Second half, we use hoping for what we've been saying, like hopefully get a quick goal and push on.
The ball that I think we'll be looking for is the ball in behind the Parkinson, because Parkinson 1-on-1 with most goalkeepers in this division, he will put it in the back of the net, and now he's just looking for that chance. He's hardly had a touch of the ball so far, Bullet, and when he does get a touch, he's very clinical and he can score. And of course, like I mentioned, Aylesbury know this themselves. He did score a brace the last time we faced Aylesbury in Aylesbury, of course. So they know the threat of Parkinson, but I think he'll be hoping that the players around him can help him out a little bit, help support him going forward, because at the moment he's very isolated up there. And I think that's something that Christian will be addressing at half-time, to try and get the ball in and around Parkinson a little bit more, try and get that ball in behind and see if Parkinson can do the rest, because at the moment he hasn't had a chance so far because he hasn't been provided the chance.
Yeah, he
Hasn't been given the service, and it might cause a change of formation. Oh, and we have action.
So we are back for the second half. So if you would like to follow all Biggleswade United matches, of course, we are also covering the ladies' match tomorrow, of course. Make sure you do stay subscribed and hit the subscribe button to make sure you never miss a match.
indeed.
You will probably have the dynamic duo competition of me and Ryan again tomorrow.
Absolutely. It'll be a bit easier tomorrow as well, because I'll be at the game tomorrow, so we'll probably have better confirmation. It looks like Biggleswade, they're going forward here.
You can see the
on the
intent.
ball back. That's already a chance in the first few moments of the match. It's definitely seen a reaction so far in the second half. Even if that did go out of play wide, it's an improvement. It's intensity, it's drive. It's something we didn't see in the first half, Mike.
It isn't, and the intent straight away. So Christian must have said something at half time. Say to them, look,
Get in there.
press and just go forward, and we've seen that straight through in the first few seconds.
I think in the first a couple of the home matches at the start of the original season, and so we've lost our pictures there, but I will carry on. We were 2-0 down quite a few times, and Biggleswade, sometimes they'd leave themselves too much to do. They'd always at least get one back or try and. So I'd be very surprised if this match ends 2-0, because, like I said, this Biggleswade side, they do never ever give up. They always fight till the end. Sometimes you leave it a bit too late, but based on those opening stages that we have seen so far, it looks like the intensity is definitely there that wasn't there in the first half. Sorry.
Yeah, just definitely.
As we've seen that, I said that the shot did go wide, but the intent was there.
The intent was there, and
Hopefully, if we do get the stream back, we can see more of that and see if the team can pull back.
I have just heard from Josh, who is the person who is on the stream. He's just having a couple of issues with the Wi-Fi in Aylesbury isn't great, so we'll be hoping to get back to the second half. But it does give us another opportunity to talk more about this. It's a massive elephant in the room, isn't it? The Super League itself, and this massive thing that just a crazy 48 hours in the history of football, Mike.
literally,
It was like there was rumours that it was being announced, and it got announced.
it was just one of those.
Where, but I think the big one was because itself, it would only take one team. And once that one team went, the dominoes would start to form, and that's what we've seen.
And you saw the fans, of course. There's no football without fans, of course. And one thing we did see is the fans at Stamford Bridge that really came together that day. And Chelsea then decided to pull out of the Super League. And as you said, that caused the domino effect that led to so many sides. But it looks like we do have the stream back up and running here.
Yeah.
Playing the ball forward a bit too far there for Parkinson. A bit unfortunate there. Aylesbury got themselves the throw. Okay. Try to do the ball over the top. It's gone straight to the keeper, all the way back to the goalkeeper though. So playing play on here. Parkinson really getting on the ball a lot more than he did in the first half. Getting the ball on the left hand side to Aguiman.
So that's the second.
Like Morris with the throw.
Taken out there, though.
Yeah, I didn't quite see it, to be honest.
I did.
It was almost like just a block and just taking him out.
You're making it entertaining while the signal is not great. Thank you, Ryan and Michael. Thank you, Gillian. That means a hell of a lot coming from you, of course.
Hope you're enjoying the game as well. And apologies once again to everyone for the stream issues. We are trying our best.
We haven't got the highs of Sky TV, unfortunately, so.
No.
We've got the real football with the real football coverage right here.
One of the best commentating duos around, better than anyone on Sky.
So apologies if you do end up hearing any inappropriate language there on the dugout with no fans. Of course, it can sometimes be quite easy to catch on camera. So if you do hear any inappropriate language, we can only apologise, of course.
You just blare stuff out and it's just
Not the best.
Balls back out to Haddo. In a situation like this, you just sometimes, I think, instead of Haddo, I think taking his time. Sometimes I think it'd be better if try and play out a bit quicker, catch the opposition off guard a little bit more, instead of waiting for the defence to get back into position, which will make it harder for us to break in behind.
Definitely.
I think if we can speed up the play a bit, because it seems like once Aylesbury get into their defensive shape, they are hard to break down.
But then, of course, it's sorry.
If you can do that, then you never know what can happen.
Because it is a very difficult situation, this for Biggleswade. Of course, Aylesbury 2-0 up. They don't necessarily have to go for it right now. They can sit back, allow Biggleswade, but they are getting on the ball quite a lot still. But they are in a situation where they don't necessarily have to attack. They can let Biggleswade come to them, and then they can counter off us. So the hosts are it definitely does play into the host's hands. But like I mentioned, one goal change. It only takes 3 seconds to score a goal in football. Less than that sometimes.
Exactly.
So what we've mentioned before, the fitness. How much that first half taken out of Aylesbury, considering if their first competitive match back out of lockdown. So fitness could come into it.
Absolutely. I mean, they have played a couple friendlies as well, I believe. But yeah, you're right. Third competitive game. It's also a third competitive game back for Biggleswade.
Yeah.
But
obviously the difference between a friendly and a club competitive game. Today, because friendlies, it's a match, but you don't get the intensity.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's hard to find the intensity in a game like this, where With no crowd, it's sometimes hard to find the intensity.
Definitely. Is that the first goal of it?
Was in there through the box.
Oh,
And
the
then-
save!
That was a great save in the end. What great chance there for Biggleswade. They've got some defending to do now. That was great defending there, I believe. It looked like Jordan Wright. It looked like a Jordan Wright defensive move. That's how I'm basing that off.
It looked like it was a great cross in as well. Looks like another chance here, is it?
So it's good touch and control there. This is much better here for Biggleswade. Keep the ball on the floor, driving through. It's Hayford to Hunt. Trying to look for options. Got it back to Flanagan, the centre half. He drives forward himself. It's just too far for Parkinson there. It was unfortunate there.
I think as we're seeing, from what we've seen in the second half so far, Biggleswade have come out fighting. They've come out and started to attack.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, Christian would have wanted a reaction from his players, and at the moment, that's exactly what he's getting from his side. Had a couple chances so far, of course, forced a save from the goalkeeper.
Indeed.
So the girls are like
play it down.
another breaking play here with another Aylesbury player. I mean, I don't know if they did the player who went down in the first half, did he actually get substituted, Mike? Did you see any of it?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Because I was going to say Aylesbury themselves have actually only got 3 substitutes today. So if they did have to make a substitute in the first half, and if they did then have to make a second one now, that would only leave them with 1 sub now as well. So, but I'm pretty sure the player went back on, so it doesn't matter too much. But yeah, Aylesbury themselves, they've only got 3 substitutes as well as Biggleswade only having 1 today.
Very depleted.
Well done, Charisma. It's okay, Charisma. Let's go, be ready for the next.
So Christian there praising Charisma's efforts on the left-hand side. Parkinson there did well in the free kick. Sorry, not Parkinson. Morris Hassan. Got Hayford there. That's the creative spark that we are not seen so far from Hayford. Of course, he has got the ability. Charlie Hayford, who was brought in January, was also part of the Tottenham Academy system as well. Charlie Hayford. So we'll be looking. I think if we're looking for a player that can really spark Biggleswade into life and help Parkinson going forward, it's definitely Charlie Hayford.
When you've got players like that, they can inspire everyone else around them.
That's good pressing there by Gareth Parkinson, winning the ball back.
And again.
Parkinson, I think, doing what he did a little bit in the during the game against Baldock, where sometimes he wasn't getting himself into the game, but he was getting a bit deeper just so he can get the ball, which could help him get the ball to other players. And then little 1-2, suddenly you're in behind, you're 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper, who knows? But that's where Parkinson works so well. He's not just a centre forward. He does help the midfield and help try and create the spark that is needed sometimes. It's good at holding up the play.
And to have a player like that, as you said, who can hold a play, is crucial.
That's where he works so well, of course, with somebody next to him, because sometimes when he's holding up the ball, sometimes you'd have a Clayton that's running in behind there, but when he's on his own, it's so difficult for a player like Parkinson to not only just hold up the ball, but also be in the right positions at the right time. Because sometimes you can't be in two places at once, can you? So it can be very difficult.
Very difficult.
It's Biggleswade here have some defending to do. Defended well in the end. Still got around 25 minutes to go. Still plenty of time for Biggleswade if they want to get back into this game.
Yeah, there is.
There is a lot of time left, and it looks like if they can get that final ball right, they could cause real problems, as we've seen by the couple of half chances we've had.
We've seen Biggleswade struggle creating the real creativity because, of course, Biggleswade's only goal last week was the penalty that Parkinson did convert. Of course, in the first game, you had the partnership of Clayton and Parkinson both getting on the score sheet. So, like I mentioned, I think Parkinson himself, I think he's struggling trying to do it on his own at the moment, going forward. And what do you think?
No, I totally agree with you. And with Parkinson, he has been isolated, and if he had that support, you could say he would be better. He would be doing a bit better having that support. But it's one of those really, but we know Bullet. He'll just keep going and keep going.
Also, I should also mention missing players today, like Jane Nourish, of course, who got. I'm not too sure what the suspension rules are in this competition, but he did get the red card, and he's not in the squad today. So my only assumption is that he's not available because of the sending off. Jordan Gerald, of course, who played last week, he wasn't available today. Milo Keane, okay, he's on the bench. Don Moglio, another player who can really light a spark for Biggleswade going forward. He's another huge loss for Christian today. So, like I said, Christian, there was a lot of changes today, a lot of players that were missing, and I think Biggleswade have struggled because of it. The lack of options.
What was it for? What do you think been for? I asked him, does he know what a foul throw is? Is that it? You're joking.
I think we've had a player in the player in the sin bin.
I thought I heard the same as well, to be honest. It looks like Gareth Hunt in the sin bin. This could be the Parkinson. He's won the goalkeeper and he scored. That was the chance that we were talking about. In behind by Dave Bullet Parkinson. One chance is all he needs, and he gets the chance, and it's game on.
All over, and as you said, Parkinson. We said at half time he was clinical.
Tell you what, I've seen too many games. I was waiting for the VAR call for a second, Mike.
Yeah, I was waiting to see. Luckily, it's grassroots. No VAR.
No VAR, but it is game on at Aylesbury, and that was what we were talking about. The ball in behind the Parkinson. If you feed him, he will score, and this will change the whole complexion of this match now.
Going back, I think someone has been sin-binned, haven't we?
It looked like Gareth Hunt. I wasn't sure if he was being substituted until you said that, but I think the viewers as well as us, I did hear him say something, but I didn't know what he said. I think he said something like, "Yeah, they've taken me off for a foul throw." Yeah, I wasn't sure. Sorry.
I did hear Josh ask. Confirmation. Josh did ask, "What did he get sin-binned for?" And he said something about a foul throw. Did we get confirmation on that?
So there's Aylesbury there. All of a sudden, they were 11 against 10 and probably lost focus a little bit, which allowed Biggleswade to get in behind. And suddenly now it's game on. They're looking for a quick reaction here. That's gone out of play for a goal kick.
A minute.
My apologies. It wasn't Parkinson. It was
Agree 100% with you there,
was
guys.
it True?
The thing is,
What the only reason I thought something had happened because I seen Christian with his hands on his head, and the referee was talking
Yeah.
to both players. So I thought something had happened, but I wasn't too sure. And then when he came off, that's when I heard about a sin bin.
Just a quick apology there. That wasn't Parkinson who scored. It was Charisma Agraman, the player who I also mentioned who did score the last minute equaliser. Gilliam there saying what a player he is, and apologies there for the. It was a fantastic finish though by him, considering he hasn't played for so long. Take your chance, 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. Fantastic lob over the goalkeeper.
Back in the game.
I said the screens we're watching this. We are watching the same screens as you are at home, of course. So it can be very difficult to see who has scored. So apologies for that. I've probably got a bit over the top there.
So what the team needed to get back into the
Absolutely.
game. We are unsure on how long the sin bin period is for. It's the first time I've actually seen that happen because there's been talk about it, hasn't there?
Yeah.
Ryan? The sin bin.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how long the sin bin is myself personally. With like I said, apologies for the screens not coming, but it also looks like what has worked quite well is, I don't know if you've noticed, Parkinson's actually playing out on the left right now. And it looks like Charisma is playing up front, which I didn't actually realise before the goal was scored, which makes a lot of sense now why we're seeing Parkinson a lot on this left-hand side. And Agraman's almost he's helping create the service Parkinson. He's almost now become the creator rather than the goal scorer. But like I said, game on here. Apologies for some of the pitches. Some of the away matches are quite hard for the connection issues sometimes, especially in non-league football.
Update, it looked like Lincoln had equalised against Hull.
Oh no.
Equalised against Hull, which means Hull cannot be promoted tonight. Wow.
Looks like the hosts are going to make a substitution. Just over 15 minutes to go in the match. Still very much all to play for now.
it is.
We did say that both sides have not kept a clean sheet in this cup competition so far, and that record will continue.
Expect the goals today.
I think my bad.
Hull now could be promoted despite them drawing because Sunderland have threw away a 2-goal lead and are now drawing 2-2, which means they will not be able to overtake Hull, and they come in third place.
That sounds like a very Sunderland thing to do.
Definitely.
Who's seen the Netflix documentary, which Sunderland Till I Die, which I very highly recommend watching, will understand where we're coming from.
I second that completely. It's a very, very good watch.
And while we had
Again for the stream going down, we will update you on a few more scores. Norwich are 2-1 up now against QPR. Watford are 1-0, which still means they'll both be promoted. In League 2, Tranmere got a massive goal against Barrow, which moves them, which keeps them in fifth, but solidifies their place in the playoffs. David Nugent scoring. I swear David Nugent plays like Portsmouth, hasn't he?
I thought he was retired, to be honest.
But it looked like he was signed the January transfer window by Tranmere, so looks like there's life in the old in David Nugent yet.
I should also just quickly say a confirmation, Mike. Sorry to beat you to it. I just wanted to quickly check myself. Mainz did beat Bayern Munich by 2-1. Lewandowski, a 94th minute consolation goal, but of course wasn't enough for Bayern Munich to become champions today, as we've got our pictures back. Thanks, of course, to Ellie and Josh, who absolute legends today, having to switch their phones and make sure try and get the stream up and running. We do thank them a hell of a lot for the efforts today. It looks like Christian's been sent off for something. We obviously haven't seen it, but Christian, the manager, has been sent off.
On. The referee was speaking to him, and we're just seeing the referee brandish Christian the red card.
Wow.
Confirmation from Ellie and Josh what's actually gone on, but something happened, and as a result, Christian's been dismissed.
So that changes. The bench are besides themselves with that. There isn't many people on the Biggleswade bench as it is, and Christian being sent off. Of course, you got Dell there and Banat, the club physio.
It'll be interesting to
try and get confirmation of what actually happened to make Christian get sent off, because all we seen was, as you seen, was when the stream came back on.
Him coming off the field and walking away. That's all we have seen here. But hopefully Josh and Eddie can give us a bit of confirmation on what actually happened. We will give you that information as soon as we have it, of course. But in the meantime, there is a free kick to Biggleswade and a potential chance to get an equaliser. Hayford there with the free kick. Over the bar.
Apparently, just got news from Ellie. He was complaining to the referee. He gave an initial yellow and then he carried on, so the referee upgraded it to a red.
It's a very soft one, though, because you do see managers all the time complaining to referees, and very rarely do they send them off.
yeah,
Exactly, and normally it's just a stern word, don't do it again. So, it looks like the referee, hopefully if Ellie or Josh can give us a bit of information, if they can hear us, of what actually happened. All we seen was Christian being dismissed. We didn't see.
That's literally all we saw, yeah.
I don't think we'll miss any goals.
Second ball, chaps! Come on, winners!
I hope not, anyway.
Charlie, we go, Charlie! Yes, Charlie, yes!
So now, Biggleswade 2-1 down, fighting back, of course, without their coach watching. Interesting to see Christian's reaction after this in his post-match interview, of course, as well. Which, of course, you will be able to see on Biggleswade United's socials after the game. Another player, Aylesbury player down. It's been a very stop-start second half.
I think I just heard yourself a VAR there.
I heard that as well. Of course, Aylesbury, the home side, they're the team that are in the lead, only just in the lead, looking for any sort of way to slow the game down. The clock's against Biggleswade at the moment, not Aylesbury, so they'll definitely be looking for every way possible to slow the game down and frustrate us, really.
It's a tactic that everyone uses. If it was just the other way around, I'm sure Biggleswade would do the same.
Yeah. Of course, we've got just over 10 minutes to go until the end of the match. I'm not quite sure. I think Gaz is still in the sin bin as well, unless he was substituted. So potentially, Biggleswade could be down to 10 men temporarily, and the manager's been sent off as well. He's certainly not been sent off, Gaz, because he wouldn't be on the bench. It could be a chance, though. It's Charisma, who, of course, just too far for him, unfortunately. It was a great ball in, and it was unfortunate in the end. It was just too far for him. Nice little kick there by Dell. Trying to get the game going as quickly as possible. Looks like Gaz Hunt will be coming back on after a sin bin, so it looks like we'll be going back to 11v11. This could be a very crucial part of the game now. Like 10 minutes to go, back to 11 versus 11. Of course, we got the goal just after the sin bin, didn't we? It was 10 against 11 when it happened.
After he got sent to the sin bin. Still unsure of the reason he got sin binned.
From what we heard, it was a foul throw, potentially.
Like it was something with a foul throw, but even then, how the foul throw can consider a sin bin?
Well, I've seen Hector Bellerin have about 9 foul throws this season, and not one of them have been a sin bin. So
it does make you think.
Yeah, it does. And Gaz Hunt is back on the field now for Biggleswade. We are back to 11 versus 11 Biggleswade. Christian, of course, no longer being able to be on the touchline after his sending off for complaining to the officials, from what we hear of it. Initially yellow card, and the referee then decided to give his red card out. And I mean, you can definitely tell that the sending off of Christian has certainly affected the players out there, because it's slowed the game down a lot. It's very much stop-start, I think, since Christian's been sent off.
Definitely.
I think Aylesbury also almost trying to look for a react, like, you know, they're looking for us to give a reaction to them, which could well cause a dismissal or a yellow card, or just trying to disrupt the play.
Definitely.
Free kicks taken, long field by Charlie Hayford. It's another free kick, this time to Aylesbury. But one thing we have seen in the second half, in particular, is what we mentioned of the real fight that Biggleswade have shown in this second half. Especially, they have reacted from the first half, not being that great, and they certainly have reacted. Whether they come out of this game with a win or a loss or a draw, one thing you can't discourage is the heart and character of the Biggleswade side.
Definitely.
And it has shown in the second half. As you said, they've got the goal. They're pushing hard for the equaliser.
We've got under 10 minutes of the game left. Biggleswade really pushing for that equaliser now. The ball's crossed in. The referee stops play again. It looks like another Aylesbury player. No, is he down? No, he's back up now. apologies for any of the stream issues.
Milo Keane does come on.
I did hear they were talking to Mike, saying something about Milo, so I was looking out for that as well. As Biggleswade now got the ball back in a good position, looking for that counter attack, which they got their first goal from. Really pressing the goalkeeper. He's managed to, and it's gone up the other end now. Haddo's managed to collect. He's thrown it out quickly, something I mentioned earlier. Playing the ball out quickly. Does well there. Parkinson was unfortunate there. But Aylesbury at the moment, they're managing the game how a side who is winning should manage the game. I think we should also mention, even though we are covering this from a Biggleswade standpoint, I think if you look at it from a host perspective, you can definitely see they're just trying to. It's game management, isn't it? Seeing the game out, and that's what they're trying to do.
It is game management, especially when you go like 2-0 up and it's just playing the game at your own pace. You force the tempo, and that's the main thing from any standpoint.
Absolutely. We also once again like to apologise for the stream cutting out. Like I said, the connection issues can sometimes be quite bad, especially sometimes going away from home. You're not quite sure of the internet connections and you're not used to the same surroundings. It can sometimes be very difficult. So we also would like to give a big thank you to Ellie and Josh, who are trying their absolute hardest to give us the coverage. And the coverage they have given is very, very good. So we'd like to give them a huge thank you, of course, for that. It also does give me a quick reminder, of course, to join us tomorrow. We are live in Bedford for Bedford Ladies versus Biggleswade United Ladies, a big game for the ladies team in the County Cup quarter final. Of course, they won a dramatic penalty shootout in the last round, and they beat in the round before that. They were 2-1 down at half time, ended up winning the game 7-2. So should be an entertaining game against a very, very tough Bedford ladies side. So make sure you join us at the 2 o'clock kickoff tomorrow.
Put that in your report, are you?
Is that a free kick?
Kick or corner?
Winners. Good ahead.
Crossed in. They're now trying to get the ball up the field. They're looking for the ball now. They could well be in here. It's Charisma once again on the left-hand side. It's been brought down. Potentially referee.
No, referee didn't give anything.
From our view, it was probably hard to tell whether that was a penalty or not, to be honest. But
It did go down quite theatrically.
But they are pressing well Biggleswade, and they really are fighting for this equaliser. Of course, 2-0 down at half time. Biggleswade, they've lost the ball out here though. I think they're just seeing the flags up there for offside. The frustrations here for the visitors, Biggleswade. So, of course, as it stands, Aylesbury will continue to be top of the table. We haven't got all of the scores from the Spring Cup, but we will see if we can find them in the next few minutes to see where that will leave Biggleswade, as it stands at least, in the group. before this game, Biggleswade was sitting. So the referee is slightly having a word. He's given a yellow card.
No, yeah.
Is it?
Is it a sin bin?
Is that a second sin bin there for just trying to get confirmation? Josh or Ellie can just give us any confirmation if they can hear us, of course, of who's been sin bin. They're all potentially sent off.
Once again, it's 11v10.
That definitely hasn't helped the Biggleswade in this second half, having 2 sin bins, of course, Christian being sent off.
No, definitely not.
And you just feel if it was a regular 11 versus 11 match, I could have definitely seen Biggleswade having a couple more chances, and potentially, who knows, not just getting the equaliser, potentially getting a winner. I suppose we'll never know now because it's not really 11 versus 11. But I mean, credit to Aylesbury, of course. Their first half performance was very good. I'd say it's more or less been a game of 2 halves as such. Biggleswade, I think, based on what we have, the scenes we have seen, have been the better side second half. Of course, the hosts were the better side first half. Would you agree, Mike?
I totally agree, and as you can see in the second half, it's been mostly Biggleswade trying to get back into the match, and they did with
The goal.
They're still pushing forward here. Biggleswade still fighting. So Hassan here trying to keep the ball. Did well. Back to Charlie Black. To Gareth Hunt. This is good here for Biggleswade. Winning the free kick. No free kick there. There certainly looked like a free kick there. Surely.
Jesus. Did look like a free kick.
Yeah, the officiating today hasn't been the greatest.
No. The first time I was confident.
By the way, whether that was a sin bin or an actual sending off. Well, no, fortunately, Biggleswade are not in the European Super League.
As we are in the closing stages, of course, Biggleswade's still looking for this equaliser. They're a man down, they're a coach down. And despite all of this, they're still fighting and they're still pushing for an equaliser. It's very difficult against a good Aylesbury side. It's hard enough playing a side like this with 11 versus 11, but to do it for most of the second half, 10 versus 11, the way they've been playing, I think there's certainly positives to take from this performance regardless of the result.
Definitely.
But hang on.
It could be a chance here.
Oh no, great defender.
Well defended.
But as you see, they have gone for the never say die attitude. Going to be very harsh circumstances, unfortunate circumstances.
I'm not quite sure. Did you catch who actually went into the sin bin there? Mike?
I didn't know. I just seen someone. The referee produced a card, point off the field. I'm not sure if it was a red card or.
If it was a sin bin?
Hopefully you can get some confirmation.
So it looked like it was a sin bin.
Biggleswade here, still pushing with a man down here. I mentioned about Charisma 95th minute equaliser, didn't I? FA Cup qualifier in the first game of the season.
You did mention that earlier on, so
Of course, he scored the first one today. With only the one substitute available today, it was always going to be difficult, regardless of the circumstances that have happened during the game anyway. But of course, only having one substitute available as well, as I mentioned, it was
going to be tough. Always going to be tough.
But you cannot, even the 6 changes, like we said, it's hard sometimes to gel. But the second half has shown that even with the 6 changes, the Biggleswade, they played more. They're still playing as a team, regardless of sometimes some players, they're not familiar with each other because they might not have played in the same team as often as others have.
Definitely.
I say that Biggleswade have shown real fight in the second half.
So they're still pushing. There's still time for an equaliser, of course. Keeping the ball. It's a good bit of passage of play here. Morris was unfortunate. The ball that's out of play there for an Aylesbury throw-in. Of course, as we're near the closing stages, big thank you, of course, to once again all the sponsors. Sponsor for Christian Colles of Media and Gracia, big thank you to them. J&R Coaching from Luton for sponsoring Tyler Haddow. Dave Philip Parkinson for being sponsored by Black Thor. Perkins Family for sponsoring Ollie Leslie. CMR Productions and Soda. Site TV for sponsoring George Harlow. And of course, if you'd like to sponsor, we invite anyone to sponsor a player for only £75 per season. It will help promote your business as well as help the players as well with their getting their sponsors. So it's a win-win for everybody.
It's definitely
The biggest thank yous need to go to Ellie and Josh, who, as you can say, under very hard circumstances of connection, have done their best to bring as much coverage as possible. So a big well done and thank you to Ellie and Josh for today.
Absolutely. It's good pressure there by Charisma Agraman. That was unfortunate. They're looking for the ball to Charlie Hayford, but yeah, I'll echo the thoughts of Michael. Definitely big thank you to Ellie and Josh today. As Biggleswade here have a free kick.
The box.
The ball played in. Oh, it's been cleared.
For a foul, is he?
Ball could well be played.
Time to go, Jack. Still, yes? He wants to be.
And Watford have been promoted to the Premier League.
Ball caught there by Tyler Haddow. Intercepted. So that's Watford returning with Norwich for the first time of asking. Sometimes it's hard to get back out of the Championship, but both sides, Norwich and Watford, have done their first times of asking.
So congratulations
For all associated with Watford.
So a huge thank you for everyone for joining the stream today. Of course, big game tomorrow with Biggleswade ladies against Bedford ladies in the County Cup quarter-final. Join us 2 p.m. kickoff tomorrow, and we'll be there live to cover it.
The players down, just getting up now.
I mean, I'm sure this is definitely a frustrating afternoon here for Biggleswade, but one thing, as I mentioned, this certainly cannot be too discouraged for is the fight shown in this second half, being down to 10 men for majority of the second half as well.
Definitely.
See Parkinson there. I think he must have been the man in the sin bin. He looks to be sitting on the bench there, Mike.
Yeah, you know.
So it looks like he was the one who was sent to the sin bin. Don't know what for.
So the last minute and a
Half, so last 90 seconds of the match.
Biggleswade will have to have one last big push. There's got to be one last chance in this game somewhere. And we saw that one chance and one goal by Charisma Agraman with a great finish. That ball in behind us, all it needs is one opportunity. Could it be coming here? Aylesbury running the ball back, looking for a counter-attack here that could potentially kill the game. Looking for the one-on-one. It's gone out of play, I believe, for a corner? Goal kick.
yeah, so just
Taken quickly.
So they got the ball back to the goalkeeper, Aylesbury. And they'll take their time with it, of course, being 2-1 up as the home team as well. Trying to make as much time as possible. And that's the full-time whistle here. Biggleswade resilient in the second half, and they did fight after going 2-0 down from goals from Alsu and Dan Lambert, but a fantastic finish by Charaz Aguamang to make it 2-1, made it very interesting for the majority of the second half. There was definitely more of a game, but there's certainly more talking points from that to take from that game, Mike.
yeah, definitely.
Obviously, apologies once again today for the stream issue, but from what we've seen, it was hard because it was a very stop-start second half, especially with being sent off for what like complaints to the referee, and then a couple of players going into the sin bin. So it was a weird second half, but I think Biggleswade showed real fight.
I think that sending off of Christian really did change the outcome, because we were very much in the ascendancy after scoring the goal. We was really pushing, and I think the sending off of Christian especially, I think, changed the game.
Yeah, that's good.
There, like, it did change the game massively, and kind of lost us not the spark, but like almost like the motivation and the just a general sense of confidence.
The sin bin as well from Gaz Hunt for the foul throw. We're not quite sure what part Dave Parkinson got his sin bin for, but of course he was in the sin bin as well. So majority of the second half, we played better than we did in the second half with 10 than we did in the first half with 11 men. So I think maybe Christian would be saying to his players, if we would just even 10% of an improvement from the first half, then we definitely could have got something today.
Definitely.
Not right there, and in the first half, I as we said, they might have let themselves a bit too much to do.
Absolutely.
Especially with only one sub as well, it was hard to make changes.
Absolutely. And just to end off, once again, big thank you to all of our sponsors. Top 11, of course, the shirt sponsor for Biggleswade United. Keach Hospice for sponsoring our ground. La Media and Gracia, who sponsored Christian Collis. JMR Coaching from Luton for sponsoring Taylor Haddo. Flat Bat 4 for sponsoring Dave Bullet Parkinson. I'll slow down so the graphics can get there. The Perkins family for sponsoring Ollie Leslie. And George Harlow. Big thank you to CMR Productions and Solar Light TV for sponsoring him. And if you would like to sponsor a player and hashtag join the club, it's a sponsorship fee of £75 to sponsor our players. Contact William Glasswell at willglass21@gmail.com. Any final thoughts from the game, Mike?
What was said, really, it was a better second half, and Biggleswade showing the fight that we've seen from them many times. It's obviously, I'm sure they'll bounce back quite quickly.
Absolutely. And of course, make sure you do join us tomorrow. Big game for the ladies. Bedford ladies against Biggleswade United ladies in the County Cup quarter-final. Join us 2 o'clock kickoff tomorrow. It's a huge game. Obviously, it's behind closed doors, so make sure you do tune in to the live stream if you would like to see how they get on. They've had a massive cup run, of course, and it could get even bigger. It's because Bedford ladies, a very hard team, of course, but in a cup game, who knows what's going to happen?
That's the joy. Knockout format. Anyone on their day can beat anyone. That's the joy.
Absolutely. But also, like I mentioned, big thank you to everyone who joined the stream today. Of course, we will be hopefully getting match reaction from Christian either tonight or tomorrow, of course, on the socials. So look out for that. Big thank you to Ellie and Josh for their amazing efforts there despite the connection issues. Of course, they did try their absolute hardest. So big thank you to them. And big thank you to you, Mike, my co-commentator, for joining me today. And
a final congratulations to Watford being promoted to the Premier League, and as a whole as well, who have secured promotion to the Championship.
Absolutely. But we'll be back for the next game. Thank you all for tuning in. We are going to wrap it up here. But like I mentioned, one more plug for it. Tomorrow's big game, Biggleswade ladies away at Bedford ladies, 2 o'clock kickoff. Come and join us on the YouTube channel and stay subscribed to make sure you never miss a match.